This week on the show, robots making movies, robots making new phones, and people not writing comic books I'm really trying to get to. All that, plus the top pictures of the week and a video game that broke the internet. It's time for Nerd It Here Weekly. Bruno, do the thing.
We're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
This better not awaken anything in me.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
I'm responsible for my own happiness. I can't even be responsible for my own breakfast.
We have Santa Claus. Assemble.
Welcome to Nerd It Here Weekly, the entertainment news show from Nerd It Here First that asks the question, what would you do with $1 million? I'm Riley Trahan, senior entertainment editor from Nerd It Here First, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Deepak Jitness.
I'm not interested in $1 million. You know what's cooler? $1 billion.
Drop the it's cleaner. Bruno Meneses.
Heyo.
And French foreign exchange student who is selling New York Times subscriptions in the streets, Jackson Trahan.
Oh no, he's just too sexy in French.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about this. Jack and I have questions. I have actually scheduled in a tangent in the show notes. That's how vital this is that we get to. But before that,
okay,
we are going to start by talking about the big news of the weekend, all the new releases and everything that you might have gone to go see. Let's start by talking about the box office. Guys, Weapons, 3 weeks in and still holding strong in the top. It was number 3 this week, pulled in another 5.3 million. Not too bad for the little indie movie of the summer that could. Conjuring Last Rites was in first place this weekend with 83 million. Sort of expected for the Conjuring films. They kind of tend to do well.
Another big win for Warner Brothers.
Probably gonna go see it.
And then Hamilton kind of with the like. What
Did you guys see Hamilton?
Have you heard about this Hamilton? Well, I feel like for a little while now we've had like a rep screening in the top 3 of every weekend, sort of cycling out depending on what the big movie is. Jaws a couple weeks ago was in the top. I anticipate that this upcoming weekend might be a PTA movie. We'll talk more as we get closer to one battle after another. But yeah, those are the big things of the weekend. I don't know, anything interesting in the domestic box office from anybody?
Spooky season begins.
It does seem that way.
Do we want to talk about Warner Brothers bringing Weapons to streaming while it's still number 3 at the box office?
I mean, that is the weird thing, right? And it does seem like those rumors are going to hold true. I guess, like, when I saw it drop...
Is it already?
Yeah, man. When I saw it drop to 5.3, I do think because that was a 50% drop off, right? And I do think I sent you guys the text that was like, great, hit the streaming button, hit the Soderbergh streaming button.
Right.
But I mean, up until that's the thing is before that, it was still making over $10 million a weekend. And it sort of does feel like with a long-term I mean, maybe when you've got a Conjuring coming and you're kind of this little quiet horror movie, maybe you just get, well, the getting's good. But I feel like if this thing had a Conjuring-sized push behind it, you know, it could have done better. But maybe they're just happy with what it did. I don't know. I never know anymore about movie theater release schedule stuff.
Doesn't feel like anyone does.
They did announce that they're going to mount a awards campaign for it alongside One Battle After Another and Sinners. So I think they're swinging for Amy Madigan.
I was going to say, I think Madigan could get a nomination. I think that would be great. I think that Krieger could get a screenplay nomination if they played their cards right. You know, sort of a not Nope, Get Out style.
Yes.
Like, oh, here's the prestige horror movie of the moment.
Right.
Let's honor it with a nomination sort of a thing. I think there is a road for it. I would love to see them actually pursue it. But, you know, we'll find out.
That'd be original screenplay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not based off Magnolia.
No.
Prisoners.
Wow, we're on the topic of new movies. We have trailers to talk about this week. Jackson, we got to look at 28 years later, The Bone Temple. Your man Rafe still covered in iodine, or however he pronounces it, and hanging out with his buddy, the Alpha.
Aluminium.
Yeah, right. Also got to look at Wake Up Dead Man, the third Knives Out movie, and Nouvelle Vague, which we will talk about in a second.
That one's the worst Beatles reference.
Pardon?
What?
Wasn't that like one of the backwards messages was something about Dead Man? And don't know enough about the Beatles to actually do this joke,
Oh,
but like Glass Onion was a whole lyric, and I feel like this one's more obscure.
Are they all Beatles
I
references?
think so.
Well, there's only been 2.
Turn Me On, Dead Man is not a Beatles.
That's it. Turn Me On, Dead Man is what the backwards message on.
Yeah, is from
the album is.
Revolution 9. I guess
Okay,
I hadn't.
false alarm.
I guess
Carry
I
on.
hadn't put that together, but we should continue to track whether or not I suppose Ryan Johnson's adventure tales are all named after Beatles references. Are any excitement for either of these from anybody? I don't know. I think they've, but I'll probably end up seeing both of them. But
yeah,
sure.
No, I mentioned to you guys. I mentioned to you guys that like me giving 20 years later a 5th star hinges on like how the Bone Temple turns out, and like I think I might as well just give it now based off that trailer.
Looks cool. Looks pretty intense. I am excited about the idea of Nia DaCosta working with Garland and Boyle. Like I'm intrigued to see how that sort of turns out. And then so I guess this is where we'll talk about it. We also got a trailer for my French isn't great, but Nouvelle Vague, the French Netflix film that is based on the creation or the production of the film Breathless by Jean-Luc Godard, a movie that Jackson and I went to go see in theaters recently on the urgent recommendation of Deepak, and Deepak, it was
a week ago.
Boring.
Okay.
I thought I've been holding back on this opinion so that we could talk about it on the pod.
Okay.
I was unimpressed by this seminal work of cinematic art that it involves
that's
3
fine.
of the greatest directors of all time.
That's fine. I think it's more important that you see it and have an opinion on it.
Yeah, sure.
Rather than have a positive opinion on it. But when being a movie guy, it launched the French New Wave. You should see Breathless.
Yeah. So I thought we should talk about. So it launches the French New Wave. Also, like of note, which I don't think I realized until after the fact, is that it sort of like establishes the use of the jump cut as like a thing.
It's a new cinematic language. Yeah.
So I feel like maybe if I went back and watched it like with an understanding of kind of where it was positioned in the history of film, I might have a better understanding of it and better appreciation of it. But of course, it was directed by Godard with a screenplay by Truffaut, and there's a third guy who's involved in it as well, who's a big deal. I can't think of who it is now. Cotard maybe, but he's the cinematographer.
Right.
Oh.
But that's what this Linklater movie that's coming up now is about, right? It's sort of about all these guys working to Jean Semberg, Jean-Paul Bellomo, Godard, and Truffaut all working together to make Breathless and kind of establish the French New Wave. So this movie that's coming to Netflix later this year. It premiered at Cannes back in the spring. I think it'll be interesting, and I was glad now to have seen Breathless to be able.
Feels like playing to the audience.
Watch this movie, yeah, a little bit. The Cannes crowd or the Netflix crowd.
The former. Although I will also be interested in how it does.
So then, what is the thing with the kid selling newspapers in the street?
That's just that's
her job.
That's what the lady character. That's what her role is in the movie.
Oh,
she's like,
yeah, that's right. She's American, which is
yeah, and that's the whole thing. She doesn't really speak French well, and then she's pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
I do also think I will say, while I was not maybe bowled over the way I expected to be by Breathless,
right?
I did have to keep reminding myself it came out in 1960. Like it did feel very contemporary, right? Like it was sort of, there was a part where like I kind of got to the end and I was like, oh, the ending sort of felt like it was a little bit lifeless, but maybe it feels actually incredibly contemporary, and that's why I feel like it feels lifeless, because I feel like it maybe lacks like, the verve or the drama or like the excitement that would come, much later, right? Like the excitement here is like, no, we were in that other room a minute ago, now we're over here, right? Like we're much more foundational in what's exciting. So I don't know. Mm-hmm. Maybe it deserves a rewatch. Wasn't necessarily my cup of tea this time around. But anyway, we're going to get a movie about how it was made, so maybe I'll have a much better appreciation for it later. Well, moving on from trailer talk, Jackson, your dang Silksong broke the whole internet.
How do you mean?
I hear I hear this Hollow Knight game. People keep telling me 10 years. They say, Riley, play this Hollow Knight game. Pretty good. I say, okay, I'll check it out at some point. And then they say, hey, sequel coming out. You better check it out. I said, okay, great. And then,
I mean, they did give you a lot of time.
yeah, right. And then sequel come out, and apparently Steam store break, Nintendo store break, Xbox store break,
Yeah, well, it
PlayStation
was
store
a
break.
pretty highly anticipated release, the old Silksong.
And I don't understand why, to be honest, because I checked this game out and it's full of bugs.
Heyo, funny. It is a game about bugs. So for anyone, I suppose, unaware of the story, what happened was in 2014 there was a Kickstarter for a game called Hollow Knight that ended up meeting its goal and then some. It met several stretch goals, and one of those stretch goals was to get a second playable character in the game. That was going to be DLC that was released after the game was released, like a lot of the stretch goals. So after the game comes out, they start working on these goals and they release these different content packs. And eventually they get to adding a second character. And as they're working on it and expanding out their ideas for this story and the abilities and everything else, it becomes clear that the scope is just getting too big. And so in 2017, the game releases. And then in 2019, I think, they announce that they are going to make a full sequel that expands on the story, and that they will still send copies to everybody who backed, and was going to it was going to be a whole new release. And so then they went very quiet about it for a long time. I believe in 2022, Microsoft had an event where they said every game they were showing was going to be released in the next year, and they showed a trailer for Silksong there, so everybody got very excited. Then later on in the year, Team Cherry had to announce that they were actually going to keep working on it for a while. Up until
and the Team Cherry crew, the independent developers behind this game, they are like 3 guys. Is that right?
Yeah, well, the core of Team Cherry is 3 guys, although I think it's a little misleading to say that 3 people worked on the game. Like, there's a lot of independent art and music and things that were done, and play testing and everything else. But yes, the core of Team Cherry is 3 guys, which is from Australia, which is not where a lot of games come from. And Hollow Knight was really good. That's part of what the anticipation behind Silksong was so built up. And then about 3 weeks ago, they announced that Silksong's coming out on September 4th, leaving us very little time to emotionally prepare. And what's more, it's going to be an all-digital release, and there's going to be no pre-orders or pre-downloads or any way to get it onto your system before September 4th. So when it went live worldwide at the same time, you're correct. Basically, every server that was selling the game went down. Certainly all of the most popular ones. Steam was down for several hours. The Nintendo eShop was lagging. I was sneaky enough to get it from a different platform, so I didn't have trouble getting into it pretty quickly. I know several people got it from Good Old Games, or from the Epic Store, which had their own problems, but nothing like Steam. There were memes going around about the Steam error blobs being the first boss of Silksong, which I thought was pretty funny. But now we actually have the game. Me and Bruno have both been playing it, I think.
Yes.
And it's been a pretty good time. It's pretty difficult.
Living up to the hype?
It's certainly more Hollow Knight, so I don't think if you didn't like Hollow Knight, I don't think it's going to do anything to sell you on the idea.
Sure.
But it's
It's a good continuation in that, like, it starts you back from basics while still being more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I do think it's more challenging, and I do think that there is a lot of interesting. I think the character has enough unique abilities that it doesn't just feel like the same game over again. Like,
exactly,
you do need to learn the new movement, and you have some options for your movesets in this game, which wasn't a thing in Hollow Knight at all. So that's fun. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like it did the sequel thing of finding a way to
tricky as hell
build on what was working and make it even better. Sounds great.
Yeah, I do have some criticisms of Hollow Knight, and I think they're mostly addressed in this one, which is good.
Well, rounding out the roundup this week, Bruno, you and I have Batman to talk about. Specifically, I was hoping you could help me a little bit, maybe with where we stand in the chronology with this Batman release, because we did get the third Batman #1 in the history of comics, and this one lays us down in a new, an identifiable Gotham, a Gotham that I think if you've been keeping up with Batman continuity for a little bit, there won't be a ton of stuff that surprises you. But if you're maybe using this as a jumping on point into Gotham City, if you're ready to, if this is the, you're excited about this James Gunn universe or whatever, and you're going to start reading Batman comics, there are definitely some things in this book that could throw you for a loop. For example, the police commissioner is not the person you think they are. The status of Bruce Wayne's trusty butler is not necessarily what you expected it would be. The situation with the Robins is maybe open for question marks. Could you talk us through a little bit, Bruno, what happened in this new Batman, kind of where we are in Batman continuity and what you expect from this new run that in its final pages promises a whole new Gotham waiting for all of us?
So it is a fresh #1, and it is serving. I think, in my opinion, it's doing its job pretty well as being a jumping on point. But it is pretty much picking up where we've left off with the last Batman run.
It's not fresh continuity at all, which is so weird.
Oh,
exactly. Where they're still following along the status quo that has now been established from, I believe it was the Absolute Power event from.
Yeah.
Was that last year or the year before?
Last year, I think.
Which established, as you already pointed out, Vandal Savage as the commissioner in Gotham, when they had a other villain who I'm blanking on as mayor before he tried to turn good, and then he was killed in a possible affair that his wife was having with James Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
It's very complicated, but that's not important anymore. Now they're just trying to start anew with. They have James Gordon even being like a beat cop in this story.
Yeah, he was a private detective, and now he kind of got bored of that, and I think now he works for the police department as just like a man on the street or whatever. Yeah,
exactly, and like it's interesting. Like I'm interested to see where it's going to go, but like right now, it seems to just be setting the pieces for a long string of mysteries that Batman's going to have to solve, just like back to his usual crime solving, rather than team ups of the Justice League, which is what he has been doing for the past while.
And I don't know if you have the issue at hand, Bruno. I have it in the next room. If you don't, I can grab it, but you usually have your comics pretty close by. For Jack and Deepak, just assuming you guys didn't pick this one up, we are back to the blue Batman, which I think visually was enticing for a lot of folks that were maybe interested in hopping on here. And the other thing I wanted to call out, Bruno, you're good. I'll go grab it in a second, man. The other thing
I had it in a second.
Call out was that because Jack reacted to the continuity thing. I think the thing here, and this, Bruno, is what I would love you to speak on because you know more about it than I do, is I think the appeal here and this jumping on point is that it is Matt Fraction writing Batman. And this is sort of the start of his run. And I think they're kind of using him coming to both DC Comics and Batman as sort of the opportunity to like, pull people in and say, hey, this is a good time to start reading Batman. I'll go grab this so we can show the blue. You can speak to Fraction a little bit, and then we'll get to the news.
Exactly. So, like, the reason Riley has pointed out why Matt Fraction would be such a good pull is because he is usually just doing indie comic book work, and he has done like some very really good and like enticing stuff. He first came onto the scene with something called Sex Criminals, which sounds a lot funnier than it actually is. It actually turns out to be a very like heartfelt, like romantic crime saga, but. Yeah, just seeing
when these sex crimes are not a joke.
Yeah, so to be clear, it sounds funnier than it is when you know that the premise, not when you hear that the title is Sex Criminals.
That's true.
It's people that when they fuck can stop time and then can break into safety.
I think I actually know this comic. I never know comics.
Yeah, hey, way to go, Jackson.
I think I saw a video like that on Google once.
All right.
Okay. But yes, so anyway, as you were saying, Fraction then sort of became a whole guy.
Yeah, and then he's been clamoring to work on Batman for a while now. At the same time as like his
Blue Batman,
his friend and co-writer on Sex Criminals, Chip Zdarsky, was writing on Batman up until they passed on to start the Hatush, and now we're going back to regular Batman with Matt Fraction.
Jack, we just saw Chip Zdarsky at Gen Con.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So anyway,
Jack had no idea.
He may remember it. I did point out at the time, hey, that guy wrote Batman, and then we kind of just kept walking. But
a lot of stuff happens at Gen Con.
It was a long couple of days for us. We were pretty tired. And to be fair, I didn't record any podcast wheel there, which means that Jack basically got just me in constant podcast mode for like 4 days. It's hard to hold on to which Batman writers
vent all of the energy.
Theater didn't mention. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to talk more about Batman comics. What a great day for Riley. All right. Anybody need to stop down or anything? Or are we good?
I'm good.
I'm doing good.
Okay. Oh, well, now you're busy.
I wouldn't say I'm busy. All right. Now is the time of the show where we're each going to take a story from the last week and catch everybody up to speed on it. And I wanted to go first by talking about the fact that Batman number 162 is now 4 months late, and I'm unhappy about it. And I'm going to tell you guys why. So I think probably, Jack, you just made this joke about you never know comics, but I think probably if I say Jim Lee, I think probably most folks are familiar with Jim Lee. He is the chief creative officer at DC Comics. He was, once upon a time, one of the guys who founded Image. He was the creative force behind Wildstorm. He, then came over to DC and has been a big wig at DC for a long time. He's an incredible artist, works in an astonishing amount of detail, and is really known for some of the really, really gorgeous art that he has done historically. He's also a pretty slow artist. He doesn't draw the fastest in the world. And as he has had more and more responsibilities sort of come into his fold as he's become like a guy who helps run DC Comics, it becomes more and more exciting when we're going to get a Jim Lee book, but also it seems to be more and more the case that he is going to be massively delayed in his production timeline. This is probably the third or fourth time in the last 5 to 10 years that I can think of that Jim Lee books have been delayed by multiple months. And because he's such a big deal, they're usually pretty high profile books. So this one, for example, is sort of the middle issue in this revamp they're doing of Batman Hush, which was, I think it was 10 years ago that Hush came out. It was Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb. So they're doing this sort of Hush sequel.
Was it really only 10 years ago? Holy shit.
I don't have a date in front of me, but I think that's right. But anyway, they were doing this Hush 2 to celebrate the anniversary, whichever anniversary it was. And now that's all been delayed and kicked. And it's just, I don't know. It's annoying to me, and I don't feel like it sets people up to want to be comic book fans. Comics are so hard trying to sell the week-to-week subscription model, even in a time when they're pushing these digital storefronts that'll let you get all this stuff, a few months delayed or whatever. Bruno, I feel like it's hard to sell somebody new on, hey, be a comic book fan. Oh, sorry, Hush 2 is delayed 6 months. This just can't be good for the industry.
It's always, I'm always trying to recommend comics to my friends and stuff, but it is a month by month release process for most of the issues. So most of the people would rather just pick up the trade copy or the graphic novel and read all of them in one sitting.
Yeah. And I think that as it's been interesting to see how comic consumption has sort of changed as the streaming model has sort of taken place, right? And binge streaming and consumption has become a whole thing. I feel like people have become a lot more dependent on trade paperbacks and things like that. And it's just, I think that there's not always a lot of comic book news, right? We sort of talk about what's going on in the comics industry whenever there are things happening in the comics industry. It doesn't change all that often, but it is beleaguered, and they are kind of constantly fighting these battles. And there is this, mental dichotomy that exists between these multi-million-dollar movies that are expected to make $1 billion that everybody in the universe knows exists, whether or not they go see, and the books that these things are based on that like not only can't get an audience but can't like hit their own release marks. It just feels like it's two completely different languages at this point, and not just like two versions of the same sort of, like not that directly linked as an industry. It's just crazy to me how much comics are suffering, that like the biggest event DC is doing this year that is supported by C-suite level executives cannot get released on the schedule it's supposed to get released on. It just doesn't seem to me like that's a sign of an industry that is blossoming. Like I don't know that I have a ton else to say about this. It just like, hey, nice comics industry you got there. Would be a shame if something happened to it, is sort of like the energy that I feel.
Right.
Unable to distract myself from right now. So yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it reminds me of the manga industry in Japan, which is also like so notoriously overworked. It's like an accepted fact of it that people just don't even flinch at, that you would have to like spend the night at your office to finish your art or whatever.
Yeah. So,
these things are harder to make than you would expect.
And I guess maybe when you're COO, you just can say, hey, we're just going to roll the release date and nobody cares. I guess maybe that's why it works this way. I have no way of knowing for sure. But at this point, the next issue of Hush should come out in January. If it does, and if we get a hold of it, I will review it here. Until then, I guess don't hold your breath. But Bruno, speaking of exciting superhero stories that should come out in the future, we got a look at what the 2027 movie slate might hold.
Yeah.
And boy, does it not look like superhero fatigue is coming anytime soon based on this.
Right. So, like, just going through the movie slate that are the people over at Culture Crave went ahead and put together after James Gunn announced Man of Tomorrow. And this is in no specific order. They have listed Avengers Secret Wars, The Batman Part 2, Man of Tomorrow, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, Star Wars Starfighter, The Lord of the Rings The Hunt for Gollum, The Legend of Zelda movie, Godzilla... That's probably Godzilla X Kong again? I'm not too sure.
Yeah,
Supernova.
Godzilla.
Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Shrek 5. A Quiet Place Part 3. Frozen 3. How to Train Your Dragon 2. That's the live action one. Ice Age Boiling Point. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem 2, which is probably going to have a different name. The Passion of the Christ 2.
I believe also probably going to have a different name.
I believe this is an animated film called Gato. And then the Thomas Crown Affair. Big year for movies.
Yeah. Big year for sequels.
And sequels. Like, just only...
And remakes.
I think Gato is the only original IP on there, if that is original.
Gato is just the new Pixar thing. That's that's what you have to do.
Gato's the Pixar movie.
Every time they put out these slates, there'll be the one title that you've never heard of that sounds like it's an original animated. It's always the Pixar thing.
And I've been trained to wait for Disney Plus on Pixar stuff. So.
Right.
This is our chance to discuss. I've been meaning to bring this up on the podcast. Deepak, how do you feel about the fact that your son's first movie in theaters could very well be Toy Story 5?
It won't be.
It
might be Shrek 5.
It might be Shrek 5.
Yeah.
But Toy Story 5 will be in 2026 when he is, wouldn't you think?
I think he'll be too young by then.
Oh, okay. So you might need to wait for 20.
I didn't see my first movie till I was almost 4. So.
Well, but times were harder back then. You had to walk the hill both ways to the movie theater.
They were harder. The film was played through projectors, and they had to splice them together, and someone had to stand there and switch it, like Melanie Laurent in Inglourious Bastards. Yeah.
Deepak, you already had a couple calls like earlier this week when we were looking at this movie slate about some of these getting either delayed or completely canceled. Do you want to touch on those?
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars Starfighter, you have to put at the front of that line just because it's a Star Wars property, and even though it's apparently in production and they've been casting and it seems to be steady,
Yeah,
you
they
just
seem
never
very
know.
serious about this one.
Yeah, they're really threatening us with this one, so we'll see what happens.
We're gonna make a movie.
Well, this will be post Mandalorian and Grogu, right? Isn't Mando?
This is post episode 9, is from my understanding.
No. I'm sorry. I meant in our universe, Deepak, not in the Star Wars universe.
What? So remind me again when that's.
I think that is
that
next
kind
summer.
of fell off the radar.
I mean, it must be if it's not on this list.
Mandalorian.
I feel like there's been zero.
Yeah, that's next summer.
It's Christmas 26. So like we are, or pardon me, May 26 is the current way that it's dated. So yeah,
Christmas is the real one.
Christmas is the inevitable push because as we say, Star Wars movies aren't allowed to come out. But yeah, so if I will say if Mando comes out unscathed and makes its May the 4th 2026 release date, then I will have a lot more confidence in Starfighters coming out. But if Mando gets bumped to December, I think Starfighters might be cooked. Because this is the whole thing. They've been cowards on the Star Wars movie front since Last Jedi. Like, the only reason Rise of Skywalker came out is because it was owed, right? Like, you had to finish that story, and it had a date, and it had been
But they wanted to drop that.
Couldn't walk away from it, right? But since then, they have cowered at the idea of theatrical Star Wars, and Mandalorian is only going because it has all the armor of Mandalorian built. I mean, sorry, no pun intended.
That's
genuinely, but like of being on Plus for so long, like the idea of an original Star Wars story taking place in an original corner of the universe. You know, it feels like maybe what we actually need to reboot this whole thing. To Deepak's point, the being after Rise of Skywalker of it all, like. For so long, they've been picking apart. They talked about this on Blank Check, and so I'm kind of just going to steal their language to be quick about it and not try and be clever. They've been looking for like 3 free weeks in like the year BBY that like Luke's time isn't accounted for, so they can like just keep filling in these bullshit stories that we don't care about, right? Like, if Starfighters works, the promise of that movie to me is just new original Star Wars. Like, let's just get back to telling stories that have lightsabers in them, and not get so worried about like how it ties back to the Skywalker of it all.
Let's give Ryan Gosling a lightsaber, they said.
Why not? Works for me. I think Passions could get bumped. I'm not at all sold that that's a real thing. Doesn't that just sound like it's made up bullshit?
They've been talking about this movie for 20 years.
Yeah.
They've been talking about him doing this for a long, long time.
Gladiator
now that
2?
Gibson, well, I think the source material is stronger.
Fair enough.
I mean, I'm excited for Thomas Crown Affair from Michael B. Jordan. I think he's the one directing that.
Who did they just cast? They recast the actress that he's going to be opposite against?
I did not see that. I would have to look into that.
While you're on that, I'm still hesitant about Batman 2 as well.
You just think that its entire sort of raison d'etre could be under fire?
I don't know that I buy Gunn playing so nice with Reeves with all the little underhanded comments we've heard about, like, maybe he'll write a script sooner, things like that. Like, especially now that they've already announced that Gunn's Superman sequel is going to come out potentially even just by a few months before Batman 2 is supposed to. I just, there's something going on there. And I think this goes beyond Reeves just wanting to take his time and Warner Brothers giving him the latitude to do that.
We did get this announcement, right, of this Man of Tomorrow movie that sounds like it's a Lex picture from everything we've heard. And
I think Gunn said something like it's not Superman 2, but it will feature a cast you recognize or something. So
and our good buddy Dan Harmon popped up on Twitter to announce that he had actually pitched a movie called Man of Tomorrow that was a Lex film at DC a while ago. So, we'll probably have him to thank at the end of all this, as we always do.
It was Adria Arjona, by the way, Deepak, who's the new casting.
I already forgot what we were talking about. What was this about?
This is Thomas Crown Affair.
Crown Affair.
Yes. Oh, that's going to be good. Yeah, her and sorry.
Fantastic.
Oh, good.
Bouncing around.
But I don't know what else. Is there anything else in this new movie slate that had anybody else particularly Like either.
How long have they been cooking Into the Spider-Verse?
God, serious.
Yeah, that's the third one. That's the third one that I'm never gonna believe it until. Yeah.
They sure did think they could turn that movie around in 90 days or whatever the fuck the original plan was.
And every single day that K-pop Demon Hunters reigns on Netflix is just like more and more mocking of the entire concept of the Spider-Verse. That was once like selling, paying the bills on the mortgage over at Sony Pictures. And now it's like, not only has it been inevitably delayed, but also it's irrelevant. Like it's not needed. We could make 6 more of these Demon Hunter movies now. Fuck the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I don't know.
It also feels like any kind of momentum behind Spider-Verse is starting to die down now. We're going to get obviously the live action Spider-Man next year, but I don't know unless they do something crazy there that it's going to sustain interest in the Spider-Verse franchise itself.
Well, it's going to depend on that first trailer and whenever it comes.
Because what there was never any interest in is this bullshit part 1, part 2 model that died before it was born, right? Like,
right.
They didn't even get to the
let alone a part 1, part 2 model for a sequel.
Right. Yeah. So like all those...
And these dummies always announce part 1, part 2 before they figure out what the real title is going to be. So we know it's a part 1, part 2 before they go, actually, it's Infinity War Endgame. It's actually Across and Beyond.
It's actually Dead Reckoning. But yeah. Yeah. I don't know. There are definitely a lot of things on here when I look at this list that is like, sure, I guess those movies could come out in 2027. Sure would be interesting if they did. I'll say this. You know what's not getting pushed? Godzilla Kong Supernova. That franchise continues to reign. Those guys are not
that's
like
the other
a well-tuned clock.
The other end of the list, the least likely to be pushed. Godzilla Kong, Gato,
Quiet Place.
What, Sonic?
You can shoot Quiet Place with all you need is Emily Blunt,
you don't even need microphones.
You need Emily Blunt at a weekend in like a shack. You can just look scared enough for you for 45 minutes, and you guys are out.
It's true.
And it's directed by her husband, so the budget's low.
Is he back for this one?
Isn't it? Yeah. They only got a different director for the spinoff.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. I am not always
let me double check
before I praise, but I did think his directing of those movies in particular was good.
Yeah, he is back to direct the third one. What's the Kraz beef?
Oh, I just don't think he's a very interesting. He sets my teeth on edge the same way The Rock or Green Lantern do.
What is that?
What do you mean? I don't. Yeah, I don't care for him. Yeah, exactly that. All right, Jackson, speaking of things coming out in the future, I hear I'm going to be able to balance my iPhone on the tip of my index finger, like some sort of
your iPhone
Harlem Globetrotter.
Perfectly balanced.
All things should be. Yeah.
Let's talk about these phones. So, as of the time of recording, yesterday, Apple had their September event, which for the last 18 years has been where they announce their new models of iPhone. This year we got a few other things as well, but overall it was a little bit lighter of a year, I would say. And we did get one of the more interesting things that Riley alluded to, which is a new iPhone model.
The iPhone Air.
Lineup. The iPhone Air, to match the rest of their Air Pro product split. The iPhone Air has been rumored since basically the iPhone 16s came out. It is the thinnest iPhone they've ever made. It is 5.6 millimeters. All the rumors said 5.5, so clearly they couldn't get that last 0.1 millimeter off there.
Couldn't shave it off.
Can't be done.
But still pretty thin. I said in the post earlier, I was impressed by how much they sold me on this product that I know I should not care about at all. So the central gimmick is that all of the compute and all of the mechanisms of the phone are sort of shoved into what they call the plateau up at the top, with the camera bump and everything else, so that there's a sort of vertical bar across the top of the phone, and then the rest of the phone is a very thin piece of titanium coming down from that plateau. And all of that is just chock-a-block full of battery so that the thing doesn't die immediately. Because it turns out most of your phone is already battery, and if you make it thinner, that's what you're going to be cutting most into. It was pretty funny that when they announced this phone, they also announced that they're bringing back a MagSafe battery pack, and they only advertised the battery life when using that pack, which I thought was interesting.
And now how much
that battery life is...
Oh, sorry. What is I want to hear the battery life first.
Well, first off, we have to go by Apple's stupid metrics. So battery life is not measured in milliamp hours. It's measured in hours of video playback. And in that world, they gave the Air with the battery pack 40 hours of video playback, which is more than most of the other phones, or than any of the other phones, I should say.
How thick is my phone when I put the battery pack on it? Because if that's the only way it functions,
that's a deal breaker.
The only way it counts.
It is quite a bit thicker. Of course, for a lot of people, and even myself to an extent, like my phone is usually plugged in most of the time because I have an office job where I have a stand that it MagSafes onto. I have one in my car. I have loads of cables at home. So I do think that battery life is not the failure point for me. But some of the other compromises this phone has had to make, it only has one camera lens as opposed to the two on the base iPhone 17 or the 3 in the Pro. They say that this one lens can do the work of many different ones with fancy technology, but we don't know the details on that yet.
I hear you can't even bend this one.
You can't. Supposedly, it passes their most stringent bend tests. So a few years ago with the iPhone 14, I believe, the Pro Max model had a scandal that became known as Bendgate, where it was possible with surprisingly little effort to bend your phone. And this was an incident a lot of people had, especially with the biggest models. So clearly, Apple's still pretty scared about this coming back to haunt them.
They want you to know.
So, I mean,
you can't bend this shit if you try.
The elephant in the room is everybody saying that this is just one half of the foldable iPhone that they're still working on. And that's why, why else would you care about a thin phone with a bad battery and one speaker and one camera lens? I don't know if I'm yet convinced that Apple thinks that they want a foldable iPhone. I haven't seen them. I mean, the classic idea is that they come very late to any party and that they always do it well when they get there. So that could be the case with foldable phones. But the big looming thing that I buried the lead on is the 20th anniversary of the iPhone in 2027 and what they're going to do for that. For the 10th anniversary of the iPhone, they released the iPhone X, or iPhone 10, which got rid of the front button. It was like one of the biggest redesigns of the iPhone yet. And so, if they were going to do a foldable phone, it feels to me more like the sort of thing you do for the 20th anniversary. But the big rumor is that they're going to do an all-glass phone with, displays on the sides that can show your wallpaper and notifications and stuff. I don't see how that... I don't know. It's odd that this is what they're releasing now. The other obvious thing is that their fourth phone model just never sells well. Like the big regular iPhone, the iPhone Plus, it used to be called, never did well. Before that, they had the iPhone Mini, which also didn't do well enough. They just haven't been able to figure out this fourth market. And maybe now they're just going for a very slick, fashionable-looking phone. I'm really curious how it's going to sell, because internally it's a lot closer to the iPhone Pro than the regular one. But externally it feels like it should be for people who don't really care about that sort of thing. So I'm definitely going to keep my eye on it, but I don't think I am sold on needing it myself.
Do you still feel like we're kind of phasing out phones long term? That we are moving to wearables in this... I get more. I start to question that philosophy when the phones start to get more complicated. When they're bending or shifting in some other way.
I think it is interesting that we didn't get any news still on anything new with Vision, where their Vision Pro headset was announced at this point years ago, and we haven't gotten anything on a Vision 2 to reduce the size or the cost or anything like that, which everybody was expecting, I think, pretty quick after the first one was announced. And that felt very much on this path of wearable technology that might, like you say, eventually phase out the phone. We did also get a lot of news on watches. That was basically the other thing they talked about, was watches, headphones, and the phone. The watches are possibly even more boring. The biggest news is that they can now detect your blood pressure with if you have high blood pressure with the watch, or they can warn you about it. I don't think they can legally say they can detect it. They also still have the Ultra watches, which are for like sports enthusiasts in a very interesting way that I don't know if I've ever seen anyone wearing one. But if you can now connect to a satellite via your watch, so if you're lost in the middle of the desert without your phone, you can get in touch with somebody. Things of that nature.
I'll tell you what,
but
I've
it does feel
anybody wear.
Right.
Is a Hermes Apple Watch.
Yes, there is an Hermes band and watch face for the new watch, for in case you have oodles of money. I don't know. That's always been a weird thing about the watch, is because such a big part of the watch market generally is like fashion. And especially when the first Apple Watch came out, you could see them trying to get into that market with they had a 24 karat gold Apple Watch that you could buy for thousands of dollars. And it clearly became more useful as a sports tracking thing. And that's what they focus on now. They have the whole Ultra brand. But it was interesting when they were starting out, seeing them sort of poke and prod at what people would actually buy this thing for.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess maybe the Air is a similar thing, where they're not sure what the appeal is going to be and what people like and don't. So they're just sort of throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. But I think the next few years will be particularly interesting. If you are looking to get a new phone, I think the headline is get a regular iPhone 17. It's gotten the new not new at this point, the actually very quite old 120 hertz display that what used to be only on the Pro phones, and is basically the reason I bought a Pro phone. If you do not need the cameras, there is really very little else that the Pro phones have to offer. So I think this is the best deal on the regular iPhone in a long, long time. It has more storage for the same price, better processor. It's a good one.
Before we move on, Jack, are you more impressed these days with the hardware updates that Apple is putting out, or the software updates that Apple is putting out? Because I know that all summer you were behind the scenes in a little bit on the developer test cycle of the new iOS, and so you've been having a lot of thoughts about that too.
Yes. So iOS 26, I do like more than what they were doing before that with Apple Intelligence, where there's still a lot of promises to feel like they didn't really come to fruition. I was really skeptical about iOS 26 going into it. The visual aesthetic of it all was kind of muddled, and there were parts of it that I think they were just being flashy. It was getting in the way of actually being usable. But I think they have tuned it to a really good place. In general, I would say, though, I am more impressed with their hardware. I still think that even if they are not doing like big leaps and bounds improvements on any of the things that they make, the ways that they make these things are still just so impressive to me. Like, I remember when I first got my AirPods Pro, how long I spent just holding the case because it felt so good in your hand. Like, just the way all of their objects are shaped, which sounds like such bullshit Apple talk, but it's just very good and very ergonomic in every way. The other day I had to take the case off of my iPhone, and I was like, oh man, I wanted to not use a case again because it's just so nice. It's like a little piece of jewelry. And that's how I feel about most of the stuff that they make.
Well, Deepak, we've talked about the movies. We've talked about the computers. You want to talk about the computers making movies?
Sure. We got word this week through the Wall Street Journal, but I don't have access to them, so I'm getting this from Engadget currently, that OpenAI is aiming to create a almost fully AI-generated animated film. The reason for them wanting to do this is, as they say it, just kind of as a proof of concept to show that their AI technology can do something like this in far less time and for far less money than, humans with actual creative input and have to do the work and things like that would take. So they're giving themselves a budget of just under $30 million and a production schedule of 9 months to do this. Now, there is a script that will be written by a human. The screenplay will then be acted out by human voice actors, so the voices will not be generated by AI. It is, for all intents and purposes, every other aspect or department of an animated feature film, except crucially the animation department, which is being replaced by ones and zeros that can ones and zero themselves. So that is the long and short of it. I know they put out a timeline like what I said, but I don't see that it's got a release date. I don't see anything as far as distribution. Is it considered an indie? Do they have to get picked up by a studio? Is OpenAI going to just self-distribute through Microsoft? Because I'm sure they have the money to do it, similar to another tech giant that's doing that with a racing movie currently. So that's all up in the air. But yeah, obviously there's a lot to be dissected and broken down from an AI art standpoint. But I'll just quickly give my 2 cents, which is that someone was going to do it anyway. Let's just rip this Band-Aid off and show people what it can and can't do. Ultimately, the consumers are going to decide with their wallets whether or not they're interested in seeing something like this or not. And I have a feeling that as competent as it may end up looking, or as proficient as it may end up being on a technical level, it's not going to replace what you get from like a Pixar or a Shrek 5 or a Shrek 4 or 3 or 2 or 1 or a Puss in Boots 1 or 2 or a How to Train Your Dragon live action remake of a animated trilogy. So anyway,
it's got a budget of $30 million.
Well,
like,
but is it though?
Well, that's an important question, but yeah.
They're definitely going to be using tools that cost a lot more than that to make, and I don't think they're going to put those in the budget. You know what I mean?
So you don't think that? And I mean, Hollywood bookkeeping is a mystery to all of us.
Already a little hand wavy.
Yeah, right. But you don't. What you're saying is that like because if I can tell you what I spend on OpenAI every month. One would imagine there's an amount of server cost that'll be taken, but you think that gets hand waved because it's just
or even the server cost, I would be shocked if that was accounted in. But even like making the models that they're going to use, which I would not be surprised if they were not bespoke made by OpenAI, if they're like the ones doing this.
Yeah.
Then I think there's going to be training and building of models for this project, and I would be shocked if that labor gets included in the budget for the film itself. I think they're going to try to decouple those.
Is that technology that was developed specifically for this purpose?
So what the article on the Wall Street Journal says is that they started the project using DALL-E, but it sounds like at this point they might be kind of on a custom engine.
They took DALL-E as far as it could go, and it wasn't enough.
I mean, if there's no way if they're only using what is publicly available to do this, then I do not think it's going to turn out good.
Right.
It is an interesting first step in a process, right? Like, I mean, we've, for example, in the past, kind of on your story, Jack, talked about how, you can see if you sort of pay attention the way that Apple is training people to prepare for this non-device future, right? Like, first you get the multi-tool gestures on your laptop mouse pad. Then you can start doing those gestures and your watch recognizes it without mouse pad. And then you start doing those gestures in response to things getting pumped in through your AirPods, right? This does sort of feel like a first step where they're like, it is an animated movie about animated creatures that do not look human, right? Like,
they're very like, it's a movie about things.
Yeah, little
guys.
It's called Little Guys. It's called Critters.
That's a better title.
Right.
I wish it was called Little Guys.
But yeah, I mean, like, it feels like they're starting in what feels like safe territory.
Yeah,
and maybe eventually, this will ramp up to what we all talked about years ago, right? James Dean getting nominated for Best Supporting Actor or whatever for being in the next Fast and Furious movie. That might still be a little ways off. But this does seem like
I think
proving ground.
We'll see James Dean as Nighthawk first.
That'd be great. Why not? D-Back, are there any? I mean, we talked a little bit about like the unioniness of all this. It seems like it's in bounds, but it does seem.
Yeah, I mean, I am not a lawyer, but I did go over what the unions agreed to.
I'm not seeing anything that says they're running afoul of any union agreements either. I'm sure they would have ironed all that out before going into this. But there was an article in the last month or two, and I'm forgetting the actress's name, but she's the star of Poker Face, and she is fronting some fully AI created movie. Riley looks like he knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we have to talk about this.
What?
I don't think I know about this.
You're talking about Natasha Lyonne.
Yes.
What about Natasha Lyonne?
As seen recently in Fantastic Four: No Conflict.
Yeah. Okay, so Natasha Lyonne is vaguely involved in the AI space. There was reporting a couple months ago that she was starting an AI movie production company.
Oh.
The reason I'm aware of this is that in an interview with Vulture magazine, she strongly implied that David Lynch told her it was okay to use AI. And
I missed that part.
Yeah, so
interesting.
This is why I'm aware of it. So here's the quote from Vulture. Not long ago, Lyonne had the opportunity to speak with David Lynch, one of the giants of a previous generation of filmmakers and an early convert to digital cameras. Before he died, Lynch had been her neighbor. One day last year, she asked him for his thoughts on AI. Lynch picked up a pencil. Natasha, he said, this is a pencil. Everyone, he continued, has access to a pencil. And likewise, everyone with a phone will be using AI if they aren't already. It's how you use the pencil, he told her. You see? So
it's the film versus digital debate again.
I gotta go watch Fablemans again. I'll be right back.
Yeah, so yeah, right. Exactly.
Just the last scene.
No, exactly that, right? I suppose use your AI machine to make a movie that has the horizon close to the top. But like it is I personally, for me, it's a little annoying.
That is quite a convenient story for someone who's starting an AI film studio to have in their back pocket.
About a guy who just recently died. Yeah, right. Agreed. Right. I'm not sure where my feelings are on that whole thing, but yes, I am aware that Natasha Lyonne's AI company is apparently, so the problem, so what you will see is you will see a lot of guys who are really sort of vehement about the potential of AI generation for the future of movie making, quote unquote, right? They now rally around this phrase. It's a pencil. That's what they all say. It's a pencil, and they all say that they're like carrying forward David Lynch's legacy with this. It's a pencil nonsense. So
I see why you made that face earlier.
Yeah. But so anyway, yes, I don't know if Natasha Lyonne is doing this movie or not. I was under the impression she was starting her own studio. Natasha Lyonne also, I mean, no disrespect, but isn't her whole kind of brand like getting high and doing as little work as possible? I mean, like genuinely no disrespect to Natasha Lyonne, but like I feel like the idea of I'm gonna have
Don't get that bag if you can, but isn't that like your thing?
Right, yeah. So I saw her being gifted a $500 spliff backstage at a Wu-Tang concert a couple of months ago. So anyway, that's all the news that's worth the news this week.
That's the news, I
guess. Before we roll out of here, we want to hit you with some pop culture recommendations. These are things we've been watching, reading, eating, playing, or listening to that we've enjoyed recently and we think you'll enjoy too. And just for the hell of it, I'll go first. I've been playing this Kirby game on Switch 2 that I don't even know the name of. Jack, what's this Kirby game I like called?
Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, I believe.
Kirby and the Forgotten Lands Nintendo Switch 2 Edition plus Star-Crossed World is the full title of the game I've been enjoying.
On Nintendo Switch 2 console.
You do play.
Have you ever watched those Nintendo like trailers? They're always so weird about the way they have to phrase everything.
Right. It's like in the Disney trailers where they're like, I'll be staying at the Polynesian Resort at Walt Disney World Resorts.
Exactly.
Yeah, so Kirby really has charmed me. I actually even went back and played a little bit of the N64 Kirby game that I remember playing as a kid on the Virtual Console because I was so charmed by this new next-gen Kirby.
Shards.
Crystal Shard, that one I could have pulled for you. But yeah, he's basically doing his normal bullshit. He's hovering around.
Talk about little guy.
Eating stuff. Hey, where's my AI movie? Nintendo, Little Guys 2, Kirby. When? Anyway, I've been really enjoying that game, and with Silksong coming out and like the entire world playing a different game, I've been having a lot of fun texting Jack my Kirby updates. So I wanted to go first. Anyway, Bruno, what you got for us?
I think we already talked enough about Silksong today, so I wanted to just shout out really quick Alien Earth that has been on a pretty great run so far. I think it's 6 episodes in out of an 8-episode season. Every episode so far has been great. Last week's episode, in my opinion, has been like one of the best, just being a short alien film. But the Teocelus's arc must be studied because that is growing to be one of the best supervillains I've ever seen. But yeah,
is he
Alien
the boy Cavalier actor?
It's a little eye.
Our little guy, our little boy.
Yeah,
we're putting together the little guys.
Oh, Jack, Jack,
they call him.
Have you watched Alien Earth, Jack? This is a little guy for the ages. I think
they call him the image.
Yeah, that's what he's technically called. Yeah. We've been talking around it in the Discord. To not spoil it for you, maybe Bruno can drop like a bleep.
In the most recent episode, he has his finest or least fine moment, depending on how you look at it. I don't know who's seen it yet.
He's a monster that's a little pile of eyeballs.
I was cackling at the end of that episode. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jackson.
I don't think we've talked enough about Silksong.
There it is.
It's very good. Yeah, it's good. You're right that we probably don't need to recommend it to anyone because it broke the internet. So on the off chance, I guess I'll go over. They also did a re-release of my favorite Metal Gear game, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, which uses the most cutting-edge graphics. They'll explode your entire computer and slow your PS5 down to 30 frames a second. But it's a fun game, and I do recommend it to anyone who hasn't played it.
Deepak?
Spike Lee and Denzel Washington's new movie Highest to Lowest is available on Apple TV Plus now for anyone who has access to it and did not or could not see it in the movie theater. It is a remake of a Akira Kurosawa movie, High and Low, from the 50s. Don't ask me the exact year. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I thought it was entertaining, good, a little messy, a little overlong, a little kind of all over the place, especially initially, but it does coalesce towards the end. And when the kidnapper character becomes more central in the final 30 minutes of the movie, as portrayed very, very well by A$AP Rocky, that's when the movie really comes into sharp focus. Spike has a lot on his mind, as he always does. It's kind of talking about the legacy of great Black entertainers and kind of how that legacy is passed on from the past generation to the current and future generations that are very into things or doing things differently than the people before them, and how do you kind of bridge that gap. It's an interesting movie, definitely worth the stream if you have it.
There was a very silly part where Denzel Washington asks like Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder's portraits if they would pay for the kidnapping ransom of their driver's sons, and that's a little bit silly. But other than that, I'm with you, Deepak. It was fucking fire. I love it. I saw people saying it wasn't great, and I was like, you guys are idiots. Like,
and the score is really
good. Rules. People
music,
were dunking on the score. The score
music
rules.
Is really, you can tell who does and doesn't watch Spike Lee movies by who's criticizing. You have no idea what you're talking about.
The score rips. The score is so good. It's just this piano that's like digging into your brain the whole time with an ice pick. It rocks.
It's really good.
This has been Nerd Here Weekly. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember that if you want to see our beautiful faces while we talk to you about the news, you can head over to youtube.com. And if you want our beautiful faces ad-free, you can head over to our website and sign up and subscribe, where you'll get all of our stuff delivered straight to your inbox. We would like to thank Wiki Rascals for our logo and artwork. We would like to thank Purple Planet for our music. We'd like to thank Bruno Meneses for producing and editing this show. Technically, we'd like to thank me, Riley Trahan, for also helping to produce the show. Don't forget to tune in later this week to hear us talk about the NFL draft, where we will be drafting our favorite little Avengers teams. And then later on this month, you'll be hearing for the dog days of summer, and in celebration of the film Good Boy, we will be reviewing dog movies. So we all got assigned bad movies to watch, and we're going to be here talking about our homework and why they were important to us. So if you want to catch all that,
check that out.
Head over to nihf.com and subscribe. Don't forget to tune in next week for all that, plus this.